Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Wherever you are, whenever you are. Hello. Thank you for watching my videos. It's Mike. It's January 29th, 2009. I'm going to start today's report with something of a lighter flavor. Yes, indeed. One comment I had from a friend of mine. Basically, I was showing her some newspapers from Canada, from UK. And one of the stories in the UK papers last week was about a pub chain running into some difficulty. And her comment was, "Oh my God, pubs in England are having trouble in the economic crisis. You would think that sales would be up in pubs." You would think that. Unfortunately, of course, the pubs are charging an insane amount of money for a pint of beer. So, for instance, they still sell pints here in England, slightly more than a litre. Anyway, basically it's like £2.25 for a pint of lager beer in most pubs around the country. £2.25, £2.50, some ridiculous amount of money. Which, when it was, $2 to the pound, that's like $5 for a pint of beer. That's nuts. So, lighter news today. Wetherspoons has announced they're turning back the clock. Their beer prices are going down to 99 pence a pint. So you can get a pint of beer for 99p, just under a pound, at Wetherspoons. Now, I'll link over here the article. The funniest bit about this are the comments. People basically complaining about, their local pub has set their set their tab limit to £50 a night. We have to go home by 10 p.m. and people basically commenting saying they're just not going out to pubs anymore, and the whole economy around pubs in England is falling to pieces. So, but hey, no worries. Go to your local Wetherspoons. You can get yourself a pint of beer for 99 pence and drown your sorrows. Some more serious news. The Federal Reserve ready to buy assets as it keeps rates near zero, from the Telegraph today. Now, the way that the monetary system works in the States, basically the Federal Reserve says, well, the Treasury basically says, okay, we need to make some money. We need to print some money. The Federal Reserve, okay, we're going to print some money. The way we're going to do this is the Treasury issues Treasury bills, bonds, basically government bonds, that some sucker is going to buy. And then with that money from somewhere else, wherever that might be, they then can officially then print some money. Okay? So they can print a few, billion or whatever. So this is how it classically works. And while you may wonder about the whole process, because technically the Fed charges the Treasury the cost of the paper. But anyway, aside from that minor point about how all this weird Ponzi scheme called money actually works, that's how it's classically been. So that somebody else has been footing the bill, as it were. Well, the latest round of quantitative easing, the Federal Reserve will buy the treasuries. Hang on. So the Treasury says to the Federal Reserve, print some money. Federal Reserve normally says, okay, to back that up, go sell some bonds. So that we have a nice balance between them. Nice balance. Now they're saying, hang on, print some money. Oh, and while you're at it, why don't you buy the bonds? Okay, folks, getting near the end now. Starting to get desperate. Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin calls for the end of the dollar's stranglehold. Over in Davos, Switzerland, it's a quaint little town in the Swiss Alps. You've got a whole bunch of people right now, from yesterday going through till Sunday, from all over the world. Leaders from the governments of the world, and business leaders, and non-government organizations, and all these people, and all these bright sparks out there trying to figure out how to keep the economy going. Well, Mr. Putin is rather upset. Basically because his country's going down the toilet, because they essentially sell their oil in dollars. And with the current price of oil down around $45 a barrel for Urals crude oil, they're not making anywhere near as much money as they used to make. So actually they're going to have to restructure their entire budget. They have redrafted their budget based on oil prices of $41 a barrel. And Mr. Putin, quote from him, "The one reserve currency has become a danger to the world economy. That is obvious to everybody," he said in a speech. So that's Putin's little take on this thing. He's not particularly impressed. China. Yes, the Chinese government basically also spoke yesterday at the Davos conference. Used their speech to call on the US to improve its economic relations with China, but also heaped the blame for the current crisis on the West. Quote, "In meeting the international financial crisis, it is imperative for the two countries, China and the US, to enhance cooperation. That is the message. That is my message to the US administration." Mr. Wen basically went on to say that experience shows that in crisis it is all the more important to stick to a policy of opening up and cooperation. A peaceful and harmonious relationship will make both sides winners, while a confrontational one will leave both losers. Now, why was he saying that? He was saying that because the treasurer, Tim Geithner, I think it's pronounced, who, by the way, can actually speak Chinese. That's very interesting. U.S. treasurer can speak Chinese and Japanese. Basically came out and has been saying that the Chinese currency, the renminbi, is overvalued, and is undervalued rather, and they really should be jacking the price up. The war begins between US and China. Now, lots of other news coming out of Davos. We'll get poorer faster than Attlee's time. The prospect of overseeing the worst year for economic growth since 1945 must be galling for the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. This is over in the UK here. IMF has basically forecast that the UK economy will decrease 2.5%, the gross domestic product. So, now of course I personally believe it's going to be worse than that, but what kind of knock-on effect will that have to the UK economy and all around? More news. The Independent today had an article. Surge in the number of fake pound coins. Evidently, here in the UK, 1 in 40 pound coins is a fake. This is a real one, I checked. And, yeah, so 2.5% of all coins in circulations are fakes. Where's that leading? Well, I can foresee a time in the future where they come up with some kind of grand scheme to get rid of the pound. Replace it with something, perhaps. Maybe something electronic that is more difficult to counterfeit. Something based, perhaps, on RFID technology. Or maybe, indeed, in a certain length of time, after things have gone completely mental here, people will be clamoring to get into the euro, because the European economy as a whole isn't quite as bad as the UK economy. In fact, the latest stimulus plan from the German government seems to be working terribly well. Basically, to increase demand for cars in Germany, what the German government has said is if you have a car more than 9 years old, we'll give you 1,500 euros to scrap it and go buy a new car. So there's been a mad rush of people going to the automotive dealers purchasing cars. So Mr. Obama, that's an idea. It's one way of getting consumer demand up. Basically tell people, sell your old crappy cars and take the money and buy a new one. And we'll give you $1,500, for instance, in order to assist. But anyway, pound coins are fakes. 1 in 40 is a fake. Is that right? Do we believe? Now, more job cuts. This one quite depressing. Starbucks. I've never been a big fan of Starbucks coffee, but they do actually make some tasty coffees. It's better than most of the coffees, most of the cafe coffee you get over here in UK. Starbucks is actually quite nice, comparatively. But they are basically going to be closing 300 stores in the US, actually 200 in the US and 100 internationally, and most of the international ones are probably going to be in the UK. And most stores have in the order of 20 people in them. So that's roughly 6,000 people are going to be put out of work with Starbucks closing. So last comment. Australia. This is leading towards the imminent collapse of commercial property markets. So I've included a link to an article. The Rudd government is proposing to set up a special $4 billion commercial property fund in conjunction with the major banks, basically to buy up some of these commercial property loans that aren't doing so well. Peace, folks. Love, understanding. Oh, sorry about that other video. I was just trying to get people to think. Why should Congress need to pass a bill specifically for emergency camps? Take it easy. Think about things. Peace, love, bye.